Good morning. Good morning from Brussels to everybody who is connected and listening. It's a rainy day here in Brussels after a very dry summer. And I'm very happy to be here speaking to you together with the teams who are responsible for this important event for us, because after a long preparation, we have right finally to launch the first call, or the first cut-off date of the program support loan facility in July, and this is the very first info day, and therefore we are expecting that all the information that we want to pass to you is clear, and you have the opportunity to ask the questions that you find necessary for you to understand the program. That we understand that it's of course a bit complex, because it includes a blending of grants and loans, and therefore we expect that this info day goes to tackles your information needs, and I'm here to moderate the meeting. I'm Cristóbal Millan de la Lastra. I'm the head of unit in CINEA, where the program is managed. I'm not going to explain more about CINEA, because as you see in the agenda, the first slide will be presented by, the first presentation will be given by our director, Mr. Dirk Beckers, who will give an introduction about the agency and the responsibilities that the agency has. So you can see the agenda. We have a long morning with many presentations from all the stakeholders. But as I said, the first presentation will be given by our director, Mr. Dirk Beckers, and with further ado, I will give the floor to him.
As well, maybe if we can go to the. So I'm the director, as Cristóbal said, of the agency of the Climate, Infrastructure, Environmental Executive Agency, and we're managing several EU programs on behalf of the European Commission, and in support, in particular, of the EU Green Deal objectives. I must say I'm really pleased as well to address you today on this very first info day on the public sector loan facility of the Just Transition Mechanism. So if you can move maybe to the next slide, please. So let me give you a bit, like Cristóbal said, some information about our agency. So our agency was established in April last year with the launch of the new multi-annual financial framework, and as a continuation of the management of some programs by two former agencies, which were INEA in the past and then EASME. Now we're currently, as you can see on the slide as well, we're managing a budget of more than 58 billion for this financial perspective period 21-27, and we will be a bit more than 500 staff by 27. Now we're managing at the moment, just to give you a bit an idea of the number of projects. We are managing almost 3,000 projects at the moment, of course, mainly from the legacy of the program, legacy programs. And in the years to come, the idea, or not the idea, but the expectation is that we will go to more than 4,500 projects that we will be managing by 27. Now, the added value of the agency, okay, is that some of you know the agencies already, but maybe not everyone. So what we're doing in particular is to promote funding and to provide as well green advisory services to potential beneficiaries. We engage, of course, and we're in direct contact with beneficiaries and stakeholders, and this all along the whole life cycle of the projects. The idea is as well that we want to raise the visibility of the program results so that the people, the public can see what the Commission is financing. And then, of course, we give feedback to the Commission on projects and on program implementation so that this can be introduced or being taken into account in the development of new green policies. And then, since we're managing several programs, we are as well actively looking at harmonization and synergies between the programs and beyond. So if we can move to the next slide now. So as mentioned in the beginning, we have a key role in supporting the European Green Deal, since we are the EU focal point for green and infrastructure projects. And as, of course, I guess you all know, the Green Deal plan of the Commission, which aims at making the EU's economy sustainable. And we can do this by turning the climate and environmental challenges into opportunities and making the transition just and inclusive for all. Now, the idea, of course, of the EU is to have to attain climate neutrality by 2050. And this, of course, will include actions in all the sectors covered by our portfolio, like investing in environmental friendly technologies and infrastructure. We support industry to innovate. We help in rolling out cleaner, cheaper and healthier forms of private and public transport. Of course, the main element is the decarbonization of the energy sector, ensuring that buildings are more efficient and these kind of activities. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we are managing quite some programs, and here on the screen, on this slide, you can see the several programs and the 7 programs in particular that we are managing. So we are managing the transport and energy part of the Connecting Europe facility too. We have, of course, of main interest for you, the renewable, for the just transition mechanism. We have as well the renewable financing mechanism. We are in charge as well of managing Cluster 5 of the Horizon Europe program. Then we are managing since a few years now the Innovation Fund, the LIFE program, which is one of the programs that we've taken over from the ex-EASM agency, including as well the European Maritime Fisheries and Aquacultural Fund. So these 2 last ones came from another agency, but we're fully in the lead now. So I don't intend to go in detail on all of these programs because I think your Info Day, the particular target should be that one and not what the agency is doing in detail. But nevertheless, if you want to have some more information, I would definitely invite you to visit our website where you can find all details on the different programs and including as well the calls that are open and that we're running. So that I would invite you to do so. So if we can move to the next slide, please. So then, of course, as I come closer a bit to your interest for today. So let me say a few words about the public sector loan facility pillar. In this respect, the public sector loan facility supports projects that are addressing social, environmental and economic challenges that are deriving from the transition towards the Union's climate targets. And of course, this includes a real wide target of sustainable investment areas like renewable energy and green and sustainable mobility, promotion of green hydrogen, efficient district heating networks, public research, digitalization, and of course, quite some other areas that are listed in the regulation and that are, of course, related to the sectors covered in the adopted territorial just transition plans. Then if I can have the next slide, and my last one, I think. So CINEA's role in all of this is to make sure, what I said in the beginning, that we ensure a sound management of the project and including as well, of course, the communication and feedback to policy. And in this respect, of course, we are contributing to the specific objectives of DG REGIO, and then in this respect, that of course contributes as well to European Green Deal. So I hope I've not been too long, just by give you a quick indication of what CINEA is doing. But would I like nevertheless thank you for your attention on this one. And of course, I wish you very good luck with the preparation of your proposals. And I would like to move the floor now back to Cristóbal. So Cristóbal, up to you again, and many thanks to all of you.
Thank you, Dirk. Thank you for your leadership, of course, allowing us to achieve the goals that we have in our hands. all the tasks and all the objectives. We will continue now with two high-level video messages that we are projecting. The first one from Elisa Ferreira, the European Commissioner for Cohesion Reforms, that is what we call the parent DG, DG REGIO, who is steering and who is in charge of the program support, public support loan facility. And the second one from Ricardo Mourinho Felix, who is the Vice President of the European Investment Bank, who is the other big actor allowing the program to function, because it's the loan part, okay? And with further ado, I will let the videos to be streamed. Sorry, we are just solving some streaming problems. Apparently, the video cannot be heard, so we are tackling it. So in view of these streaming problems, this is a problem of course, of not being able to organize presential info days, because apparently the videos are not streamed properly. So we will change a bit the order in order for you not to have to wait for all the persons connected. I mean, I forgot to say at the beginning that we have 280 registrations. So in order not to make you wait, what we are going to do is that I will go first with my presentation, and then when these technical problems are solved, we will stream these two important videos from high-level colleagues of high-level hierarchy in the DG REGIO and the European Investment Bank. So as I said at the beginning, I'm Cristóbal Lastra, head of unit in CINEA, where the program is managed. It's very important for you to understand how the setting works, because you have heard CINEA, you have heard DG REGIO, you have heard the European Investment Bank. So what I'm going to clarify is the picture, how we work together, what are the roles, so you understand better who's who and who does what, okay? So we have the European Commission and the European Investment Bank. These are the main two actors. The European Commission has delegated the management of the program to CINEA, so we are part of the European Commission, but we are an independent, delegated agency in charge of executing the program. Together, we take care of the adoption of the work programs. The work programs are yearly or multi-yearly documents where all the principles and priorities of the program are established. In this case, we have a multi-annual program that will cover several cut-off dates until 2025. This is the reference document. This is where the mother of the documents, where all the principles are reflected. On that basis, we launch a call for proposals. This is a call for proposals that has been launched. We are in the first cut-off date of the first call for proposals, and then we organize the evaluation of the proposals, of the grant component of the proposals, okay? For this purpose, we have to assess the award and prioritization criteria as reflected in the work program and the call. And on that basis, after that process, we award decisions and sign grant agreements through the corporate IT tool called eGrants. And then, of course, we have to monitor the grant agreement execution. The other side is the European Investment Bank that is responsible of the loan component, because as I told you and as you know, this is the projects that will be financed will have a loan component and a grant component. So the European Investment Bank will assess the applications in respect of the loan component, will prepare and execute the financing agreement, and will monitor the loan component. This is the basic overview of the roles of the main two, the two institutions in charge of the program. Now, going a bit more into the details, one of the institutions is of course the Commission, but in the Commission, as I said, the policy DG, the DG REGIO, in charge of the regional funds and the regional policy, has delegated the implementation of the program to CINEA. CINEA is an executive agency, as many other agencies in the Commission, who executes, who manages practically the programs. So here, who does what? DG REGIO defines the policy. Of course, it's the owner of the program and defines the strategy, objectives, priorities, and this is reflected in the work programs. DG REGIO assesses jointly with CINEA the applications and takes a decision on the projects to be financed. And of course, make any program decisions, high-level decisions steering the program. Finally, after some cut-off dates and some experience with the program, DG REGIO is also in charge of evaluating the program and also the agency performance. About CINEA, CINEA basically turns policy into action. That's our motto, okay? So the first is beyond what we are doing, this preparing the call, launching it, and informing you, we will assess the projects together with DG REGIO, and then we will manage the project life cycle. Of course, the project life cycle includes, as I said before, organizing the call for proposals and evaluations, monitoring the technical implementation of the projects, and very importantly, managing communication actions, info days, website, and publications. This is very important for us because we understand that the program is not a standard one, and we are available to communicate and to explain all the details and all the doubts that the potential beneficiaries have. And last but not least, since we are very close to the projects and we see in the ground what's going on and what happens, which projects advance and which others are stuck, we provide feedback on program implementation so that DG REGIO can take the decisions that are mentioned in the third bullet, makes program decisions. Okay? So lastly, because there is a lot of content and a lot of details to be explained by the teams, I am just mentioning here basic information. This will be further detailed during the morning. But this is your first contact, so to say, with the main issues. You have to understand that to apply for funding, the territorial just transition plans are the reference documents. I have said that the work program prepared by DG REGIO is the, so to say, the mother of the documents, but then without the territorial just transition plan, it doesn't work. So these territorial just transition plans are a sine qua non for application. It will be explained during the presentation how this works. Another important highlight is that any potential applicant has the possibility to receive advisory support from the InvestEU Advisory Hub. And then, well, going to practical details, there is quite some work to be done. It's not that we overdo it, but it's a non-negligible task for you to present a project, to familiarize with the application form, and of course you have to request the loan to the EIB. You will have more information during this presentation about the funding and tenders portal, notably, and about the EIB procedures. But this is the first highlight on the main elements for you to be able to apply. And now I go back, and I hope that we have solved our streaming problems, and we will be able to show you the videos. Okay. We have still problems with streaming these two videos. You won't have a problem because these two videos will be anyway uploaded in the website, and you can see these are high-level videos giving you the big picture. But not to make you lose time, then we go to the next presentation by Sabine. Sabine, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Cristóbal, and welcome everybody. Also from my side, so I'm Sabine Vandermotten, the Deputy Head of Unit in DG REGIO, responsible for the implementation of this facility. The public sector loan facility is part of the Just Transition mechanism. So as part of the Green Deal, the Just Transition mechanism provides resources for facing the challenge of the transition process towards the Union's 2030 climate targets and the objective of the climate neutrality in the Union by 2050. So it's a key tool to ensure that the transition towards a climate neutral economy happens in a fair way. This means also leaving no one behind, and I think this is the key sentence of the Just Transition mechanism, it's leaving no one behind. So the Just Transition mechanism consists of 3 pillars. So the first one is the Just Transition Fund. So this is managed also by DG REGIO under the shared management. It's actually, it provides primarily grants. The second pillar is the InvestEU dedicated Just Transition scheme, which crowds in private investments. And then the third pillar, which is the center of our Info Day today, is the public sector loan facility. So it's a blending facility, and the regulation of the public sector loan facility is Regulation 1229. So where you can find the context of the public sector loan facility. It is also important to mention that those 3 pillars actually are managed or governed by the framework of the Just Transition plans, which is a very important element to manage the Just Transition mechanism. So to concentrate a bit more on the public sector loan facility, so what are the main features? So it's a blending facility. So we said it already before, and we will probably repeat it also in this presentation. So it combines grants and loan. So the grant part amounts to more or less 1.5 billion, and the loan component amounts to 10 billion, and this is financed by EIB resources. The grants are financed by the Union resources. What is the objective? So the PSLF addresses the development needs of the territories most affected by the climate transition. So those are also identified in the Just Transition plans. Who are the beneficiaries of this facility? It's the public sector entities, or including private law bodies with a public service mission. So in general, those private law bodies with a public service mission, they get a mandate, and it depends a bit from country to country, which how this is translated and how which form it takes. So how can you access the facility? So it's through the open call for proposals. So the call has been published on the 19th of July. And our colleagues from CINEA will go a bit more into detail how this works and how you can access this open call for proposals. So as we said before, so there is a grant and a loan component. So the project must be successfully assessed for the grant component and the loan component. So there is no loan without a grant, and there is no grant without a loan. So it's really, they go together. What are the eligible sectors? So as Dirk Beckers said already in his introduction, so there is a very broad list of eligible sectors which are listed in the regulation. But projects must relate to the sectors which are identified in the Just Transition plans. So if there is a more limited list in the Just Transition plans, only those sectors will be eligible for the facility or for your proposals. So the geographical scope, the projects must benefit a territory identified in an adopted Just Transition plan. Even if they are not located in the territory that is identified in the Just Transition plan, but they have to benefit those territories. The budget allocation, well, we work with national shares until the end of 2025. So also the call that was published have to, and the grants that we will award will have to respect the national shares. They are also available in the funding and tendering portal. And the national shares are established in function of the GTF allocation. So the same percentages are used for the public sector loan facility. We also have advisory support. So our regulation foresees that applicants can make use of advisory support, which is provided by the EIB, and a colleague of the EIB will give some more detailed information about it later on. So the idea of this advisory support is to support the preparation, the development, and the implementation of the eligible projects. And this already in an early stage of the preparation of the projects, prior to the submission of the applicants by the beneficiary to the facility. And I can really recommend beneficiaries to make use of this advisory service, which can help you by developing the projects, make them mature of good quality, and make sure that they also are well, reply to all the criteria that we have. So the resources for the advisory service is 35 million, so for the entire period. So of which at least 10 million, shall support the administrative capacity of the beneficiaries. So, and priority will be given to beneficiaries which have a relatively low administrative capacity to manage grants and loans also, and which are located in less developed regions. The administrative capacity support may include both project advisory and capacity building activities. So as I said already, we have the two components there. Advisory services will be managed under the rules and implementation methods of the InvestEU Advisory Hub under the cross-sectoral component. So you have also the link here in the slides to the InvestEU Advisory website, so where you can apply for those advisory services. And it's very important that you mention when you apply for advisory services that it is linked to the facility, the blending facility, the public sector loan facility. So now going a bit more into detail. So as I said already, the call has been published on the 19th of July. So it runs until the end of 2025, and it has 3 cutoff dates per year. So if you miss one submission deadline, you can transmit your proposal for the next submission deadline. The facility is also a financing not linked to cost. Well, the grant is financing not linked to cost. What does this mean? So the grant is a fixed percentage of the loan, which is provided by the EIB. So what is the rate? So it's 15%, the grant is 15% of the loan, unless the project is situated in a less developed region, then the grant is 25% of the loan. The grants can also cannot be disbursed before the financing agreement is signed, so we will go also a bit more into detail later on. So what is the minimum EIB loan amount? So the minimum amount of the loan is 12.5 million. So what does this mean with our fixed percentage that we have for the grants? The grants amount to 1.8 million or 3.1 million if they are situated in less developed regions. So minimum individual projects of at least, so this means that minimum individual projects should be of at least 25 million, but there is a possibility to group smaller projects under a loan scheme, and there are also a colleague from EIB will go a bit more into detail for this. So what does this all mean? So the effective grant is compared to the total cost of the project is actually rather low. It's an average of 5 to 6%, but of course we cannot forget that we also have the loan component there to help the public entities. An important element in all of this, as I said already, are the territorial just transition plans. So what should those plans include? So first of all, they should include the synergies and the complementarities with planned support from the other pillars of the just transition mechanism. And it should also include the sectors and the thematic areas envisaged to be supported under the other pillars. So all the applications must refer to a just transition plan. So what are our key recommendations for the member states and the regional authorities when preparing the DGTPs? So it's definitely to include a reasonable detailed list of sectors to be supported by the facility, to not exclude the use of the public sector loan facility, because if the just transition plans mentions that it will not make use of the public sector loan facilities, all proposals for that territory or that country will be automatically rejected. And what you cannot do neither, or what should not be in the territorial just transition plans neither, is already very detailed identified projects, because we are in the context of grants. So it means that there is an evaluation done on all the proposals that we will receive against all the criteria that are defined in the call. So this is on my part, so I pass now the floor back to Cristóbal.
So here we are. As you can see, we are going down in the details. Okay, so apparently my IT colleagues tell me that the streaming works now. So is it time for you to listen to the two videos that were expected at the beginning of the session after the intervention of Dirk, from Elisa Ferreira and Ricardo Mourinho. Well, we have to get used to modern times and IT issues. Apparently still, we are trying our best so that you can hear, because apparently the problem is with the sound, not with the video. So if you cannot hear what these high-level commission representatives are saying, there's no point on projecting the videos for the moment. We will see if we can project it later. Therefore, we will continue with the presentation, and now we are going more into the details, and we have the presence of Maria Jose Peiro, mandate officers from the European Investment Bank, talking about the main features of the loan component.
Thank you, Cristóbal. So I'm Maria Jose Peiro, working for the European Investment Bank, the mandate management department that manages the PSLF program or mandate and other mandates. And I'm happy to be here today to present the main elements of the loan component of the PSLF. So the PSLF is a framework that allows that EIB public sector financing can be blended with eGrants at project level. This has to be to support just transition projects located in or benefiting territories identified in a territorial just transition plan, as we have heard from the Commission. The EIB is estimated to provide up to 10 billion lending and mobilize 18 to 20 billion of public investments. The facility has practically two legs, so the work program and the multi-year easy call for grants with recurrent deadlines on the one hand, and the agreement that has been signed with the EIB that unlocks the EIB financing under the facility. So far, the EIB is the sole finance partner of the PSLF. The regulation actually envisages for the EC to cooperate with other finance partners should be additional resources or where it is required for the correct implementation. But in any case, the agreement with the EIB is prepared to continue for the entire MFF period, so until 2027. As we have heard, the EC grants are a share of the EIB loan, so 15 to 25%, 25% for projects located in less developed regions. The facility and the EIB financing can support both individual projects and loan schemes, so sets of smaller projects. The national earmarking for the grants that you can find in the work program will logically also influence the mapping of the loans, but this ensures that there are proper resources for member states as planned until end of 2025. And later on, there would be a free allocation across member states. Slide. You can see the facility as a coordinated or collaborative workflow covering the grant and loan project cycles, where the two institutions inform each other and respect mutual responsibilities. So the grant component will be directly and exclusively managed by the EC CINEA with no EIB involvement. And on the other hand, the EIB lending will be provided at its own risk and under the bank's rules, policies, and procedures. There are no deadlines for the EIB financing, so no calls and no submission deadlines. There's opportunity for financing all along the ongoing easy call for grants. As the grant amount is connected to the loan amount, grant applications can be submitted on the basis of stable project scope and stable loan amount. This may be the case for individual projects or investment loans, as we call them. However, for loan schemes or framework loans, for such stable scope and so so that you can have such stable scope and the loan amount can be fixed, the appraisal by the EIB needs to be advanced. So we say that in most cases, indeed, contacting the EIB and starting appraisal or due diligence by the EIB early is advisable. For each selected project, so at the end of the cycle, the grant disbursement is conditional to the effectiveness of the EIB financing signature. This means that you don't get the grant unless and until the EIB financing is signed. As we are often asked, we say that the typical minimum project size is 25 million. So for a normal EIB financing share of 50%, the minimum loan size for both individual projects or loan schemes is 12.5 million. But given that there are special needs in certain geographies and to support PSLF smaller projects, the EIB financing share can actually be higher in less developed and transition regions, enabling indeed support for smaller projects. Also, it is possible to have a smaller sub-project size under the loan schemes. Here in this slide, you have the two parallel coordinated workflows. So at the top, you can see the grant process, on which we will hear more today. So from grant application to selection of proposals, to the signature of the grant agreement and disbursement. And at the bottom, you have the financing process, from appraisal of projects or framework loans to the approval by the EIB governing bodies, and finally the signature of the financial agreement. The bottom row is relevant for direct financing. For indirect financing or intermediated financing, the second row is not relevant, as the EIB has already signed an agreement with the financial intermediary, and the applicant has already signed its loan with the intermediary. So the lending part is already signed. And actually, for indirect financing, the project promoter submits the grant application directly to CINEA, and proving that the loan has been signed with a letter. For direct financing, we would like to highlight again that for individual projects, the submission can happen, the submission of the grant application can happen before starting the EIB appraisal, if and as long as the project scope and the loan amount are stable. If they're not stable, it's still advisable to engage with the EIB. For framework loans, the EIB appraisal must be sufficiently advanced before the grant application can be submitted. In any case, the applicants can submit proposals definitely before EIB approval of the financing, which can take up to 18 months. For those of you not familiar with the EIB, this is a very simplified diagram of the EIB project cycle. So the process starts with a proposal or project identification, then appraisal, approval by the governing bodies, signature, then disbursement, there's a monitoring and reporting phase, and then the cycle is closed with repayment. Half of the cycle, up to the signature, step 4, is running in parallel to the grant process that we have just seen. There are different EIB teams involved, from the operations department that is responsible for financing and structuring the projects department that is in charge of mostly project design, sector adequacy, the risk management department, the legal department, compliance department. In fact, the appraisal of the due diligence of the EIB consists of a comprehensive risk-based set of checks from financial, technical, environmental, social, legal checks, and also compliance assessment. And there I invite you to go to the EIB web pages if you want to know more. For PSLF projects to be eligible, they need to meet certain criteria, which you may already know. Projects cannot generate sufficient stream of own revenues. Projects cannot receive support under any other union programs, except for advisory. Projects need to be located in or benefit territories identified in a territorial just transition plan. And we have seen as progressively these plans are proposed by member states and adopted by the EC, but we need to stress indeed that the PSLF facility and EIB financing can only start with the adoption of those plans. It's a kickoff to confirm a basic geographical eligibility. There are wide-ranging sectors contributing to just transition that are eligible. In fact, pillars 2 and 3 of the just transition mechanism have a wider thematic scope than the pillar 1, the just transition fund. There are many sectors envisaged: digitalization, renewable energy, biodiversity, circular economy, green mobility, urban regeneration, and this is just a few. But actually projects always need to be related to a sector listed in an adopted plan. And we hear that some plans also have quite comprehensive open list of sectors. Actually, projects also need to comply with the EIB rules and policies to get the EIB financing. So projects need to address market failure, provide additionality, which in principle, this shouldn't be too difficult for the PSLF projects because there's already the concessionality element of the grant. And we are trying with the Commission to indeed help societies, economies, and markets to fill in a gap. The project also needs to comply with the EIB sector eligibility rules. Also needs to be aligned with the Paris Agreement and the EU taxonomy, and it needs to be bankable. This means that the borrower credit risk requirements need to be above a minimum threshold. So there needs to be a balance between not having sufficient revenues for the project to get a grant, but to be a solid project and the risk of the borrower to be above a certain threshold for the EIB to be able to finance. And the two sets of criteria, the PSLF eligibility and obviously EIB rules and policies, are very important, equally important. There are at least two supporting elements that we can identify. As I was mentioning, to facilitate access to financing for PSLF projects, the EIB financing share can go beyond 50% of the investment costs for projects in less developed regions and transition regions only. This needs to still respect the limits on overall EU and EIB combined support up to a total of 90%. This is part of the EIB Group Just Transition Comprehensive Proposal that was approved in December last year. And it will be granted on a project-by-project basis under the respective board approval. It's also consistent with the co-financing that we grant for cohesion projects. And last but not least, and my colleague Miha will tell you more about it, there's advisory support available through the InvestEU Advisory Hub for both project development and to build up promoters' capacities. Okay. Okay, I'm hurrying up. I have only 2 more slides. I will be quick. So for the EIB, it was important that there's a full public sector product range to help effective deployment of the facility. So on the one hand, we have the direct investment loans, as we call them, standalone or individual projects in the core, loan schemes and framework loans that allow to support multi-year, so multi-project and multi-year investment plans and smaller size projects, which are actually not defined at the time of application, and intermediated loans that allow to support smaller counterparties and projects, which are not known at the time of agreement with the intermediary. For the loan schemes, the grant applicant and the other project promoters under the scheme can execute projects according to its priorities, but always within the framed criteria that has been appraised and agreed with the EIB. And for the grant application, applicants only need to submit the types of projects and the geographical areas and their dose frames, not the details of the sub-projects. There are two types of framework loans. The standard framework loans, the grant applicant is the sole beneficiary for the various projects it implements, and the coordinated framework loan where the grant applicant is not the sole beneficiary, and in some cases it might not be the beneficiary at all. The coordinators coordinate and transfer the grant support to sub-project promoters. And those, the promoters and the beneficiaries group with the coordinator actually to simplify the administrative work and to work under the same scheme and the same public objective. For this option, you need to select the financial support to third parties option in the call. And I will skip that. There's a wide range of eligible coordinators for this type of framework loans, but also under PSLF in general, there's both public law entities and private law entities that are eligible as long as they can demonstrate a public service mission. And my last slide to provide you some further elements on intermediated financing. For intermediated loans, the promoters approach the financial intermediary directly, a financial intermediary that has a financial agreement with the EIB and that is active in their geographical area. A list of financial intermediaries will be in the EIB website when this is available, so when the financial intermediaries that will be active for PSLF will be identified or confirmed. For intermediated financing, the intermediary is chosen for its capacity to distribute resources to identified promoters and projects, always in line with the contractually agreed criteria with the EIB. For this type of financing, there are two principles to be respected at the facility level. There's limitation to 25% of the grant component allocated to these type of projects, and there's also the EC prioritization for projects in less developed regions. And I will stop here. We have two main products, the intermediated framework loans and the multi-beneficiaries intermediated loans, but this can also be found on our website for more details. I will stop here for the interest of time. Thank you very much.
Okay, many thanks, Maria Jose, for that detailed presentation. We are going to, I mean, just a clarification because of the hiccups we had with the videos and any problem that you have listening to the presentation. Of course, all this will be recorded. This presentation is being recorded and will be available for you to take a close look during the, I mean, after the info day. Of course, it's better that you listen to it now in order to ask any frequently asked questions. So let's go now to Miha Svent, advisor in the European Investment Bank. He will talk about the advisory support.
Thank you. Okay. So, thank you for the floor. You've heard a few times this morning about advisory support being available around this public sector financing facility. There is a very good reason why the advisory support is available. We can imagine the complexity of the whole offer here. You have grants, call for grants that has its own criteria and nuances and so on. On the other hand, you have EIB loan, which is also by itself not a quick and easy target, and it requires a lot of work. On both sides, on promoter side and on the EIB side. And number three, you have those territories that need to develop their plans that need to identify projects, and those projects has to be developed to a suitable stage that would be suitable for financing and for receiving the grants. So this is not an easy task. The advisory offer is there to help, is not there to solve all those complexities and to maybe do some detailed explanations about the call and so on. This is the authority of the Commission. But it is there to help you develop projects, proposals, bring projects to financeable stage in principle. So I will explain briefly what this, how this advisory offer is organized, what is it about, and how you can use it. So advisory support is organized under the InvestEU Advisory Hub. Unfortunately, one slide showing the advisory hub is missing, but we will add it to the slide pack that you will receive. So just quickly about InvestEU Advisory Hub. This is a component of Advisory Hub of InvestEU that was put in place since last year, and it's a new instrument, new facility to support advisory under the new MFF. On one hand, this is a new facility grouping together different, let's say, tools of advisory that were available under the previous period. Like, for instance, Inofin, like Elena, like you have, I think there are a number of those individual facilities that are now grouped under one roof, called InvestEU Advisory Hub. Now, InvestEU Advisory Hub is available for much wider scope of investments, not only under this facility, but practically on all investments that would potentially fit under the InvestEU guarantee or under other financial facilities as well. So on one hand, this is a new facility, as I said, a new program. On the other hand, it builds on already 7 years of experience. Those of you who may have worked with us under the previous period will be familiar with European Investment Advisory Hub. This was a program that was co-financed by the Commission and the EIB, and it was implemented by the EIB advisory services. And it had quite a wide scope. The core business of this was to help develop projects to be financed by under the FC fund. What you see on slide are few elements of this advisory hub that were recognized as good features and that have been taken over to the InvestEU Advisory Hub. The first thing is single access point, meaning that you have one contact point for practically any need for advice, regardless of the stage in which your project is, regardless of the type, sector, and so on. You have one address. You don't have to worry under which facility, which individual advisory tool this will fall. The second feature is simplicity. It's a very simple program. You don't have to collect loads of documentation just to apply. It's enough to have a concept in mind that we can start discussing about where this advisory could fit and how you can make use of it, and of course, how we as EIB advisory would be able to help you bring projects to the next stage. That is the main purpose of all advisory offer here, is to bring projects as quickly as possible, as close as possible to the financing stage. And finally, it's important to mention also that this service is still, as it was before, free of charge for public sector promoters and partly with some limitations also to private sector promoters. This is supposed to show you that what I said before, the advisory service is available through all project stages. It covers from upstream, let's say upstream support when you have to deal with market, when you have to screen potential project proposals, when you have to preliminary assess projects whether they will be good to fly or not, to actual work on the project. And when it comes to the project, we come with very detailed terms of reference. Typically, we engage EIB expertise, technical and financial experts, or external consultancies. And I think we must also say that since this is not a new facility, we are building on experience of more than around 3,000 of assignments of projects that we have supported, out of which few hundreds are already financed by the EIB. The support can go beyond only preparation. It can go to support implementation, for example, to help to give you some help on procurement, and also we can also set up organized capacity building activities that would typically be directed again to support projects, not general capacity building, but to support projects to bring them further. For example, to upgrade the implementation capacity of organizations that would be tasked to manage those projects. This slide is supposed to show you how the EIB advisory, how we are organized actually to be able to support all 4 windows of InvestEU. We have reorganized actually ourselves to cover all eligible sectors and all types of projects that come as potential under these windows. And on top of that, there is also so-called horizontal support, one of which is this public sector loan facility that we are talking about today. To mention maybe it's that we are also working quite intensively on circularity, circular economy, circular cities. One of those deliverables was a Circular City Funding Guide that was recently published, and it's a very practical guide of how to develop projects in circular economy and how to get finance for those. And on the right side, you also have, as a component, work on this Just Transition facility. So zooming in, quickly how the advisory is, what is the advisory offer? Under this facility, you are able to access support throughout the project phases, from concept, there needs to be some kind of concept to be able to start with, to the implementation. The slide does not show you a list of advisory services because there is no such list. There is no off-the-shelf predefined service, but it's always designed individually. When we get in touch, we look at where the project is, and we actually try to answer 2 questions. One is exactly where the project is and how good chances it has to reach the financing stage in the foreseeable future. And number 2, if we are able to provide suitable advice. That is the basic thing under which we then discuss and come to very concretely scope and budget and terms of reference, and we see if we need external consultants and all this. This is all on our site. In addition to project support, there is also, as I mentioned, the capacity building and market development. In concrete terms, what we can do is to have to organize some kind of studies, maybe knowledge sharing events, maybe events to promote this facility among promoters. It is not meant to have a general capacity building, not general trainings, but for example, trainings for staff that are linked specifically to the programs and projects that you are proposing. Quick glimpse on what happens with the advisory request. As I said, I mean, what we learned over the last 7 years of running the advisory hub is, well, quite obviously, the more meat, the more content is in the concept, in the input, the more chances are that this input would be translated into very concrete advisory assignment. And number two, that it will lead to investable projects. So this is what we could recommend you. One is to try to put as much as possible content already, some thinking into it before we start discussing. And on the other hand, contact us as early as possible. Not at the point when you already apply for a grant, but when you develop the concept, when you bring the concept to, let's say, to a tangible plan. What we could do at first instance is to help you get compliant with EIB financing requirements, and then in parallel also to be ready to comply with the grant call. So the first step is to go to the computer, then submit your proposal through the central point. Maybe you could also write that you already talked to EIB, yes or no, and so on. And beyond that, we will then discuss with you, just to remind you that what you're looking at is not an application project. It's not as applying for a grant. It's basically making a first contact with advisory to start discussing and bringing the projects to fruition. Finally, I have one slide more. Because this facility is new and there is no project yet, this is not intended to show you the project that would fit all the boxes, but to give you an idea of where the advisory could fit. So this example is to replace, let's say, old polluting buses with new buses over some time. It is an EIB-supported project that is addressing both green transition and also social cohesion. And it was done, and the advisory work was done through 4 phases, going from analysis of the market and assessing where the market could go, how many and where the people will use more of the bus transport, how to make sure that new technology is compliant with the EU Clean Bus, Clean Vehicle Directive, and finally to produce a very concrete action plan of when and what and for how much and where to buy the equipment. So here I will conclude and invite you to use one of those contacts. Thank you.
Many thanks, Miha. Now we are going another level deeper into the details with Isabelle Jagiello explaining how to apply for an EU grant. Isabelle, please.
Thank you, Cristóbal. Good morning, everybody. And my name is Isabelle Jagiello. I'm head of sector in the unit of Cristóbal Millan de la Lastra at CINEA. And this morning, my presentation will focus on how to apply for an EU grant, and more precisely on what will happen to your proposal once it has been submitted. So it all starts with a call for proposals, because in order to apply for EU funding, you need to have a call for proposals that has been published. And the starting point for you is the EU funding and tenders portal, where you can find all the information related to the open calls for proposals, but also closed ones, and even forthcoming calls are announced on this portal. So in the case of the public sector loan facility, the first call has been published on the 19th of July. It is open, and you can already submit your proposal. Then once the call, as you have seen, the call for the public sector loan facility has several cutoff dates. And the first cutoff date is the 19th of October. So once the first cutoff date has expired, we will then start assessing the proposals. Then it is important to make a focus here on the framework loans. As you know, there are two topics under this first call of the public sector loan facility. The first one is for standalone projects, and the second one is for framework loans. In the case of framework loans, it is a must for applicants to have already started preparing and discussing with the European Investment Bank their framework loan request before you actually submit a proposal through the EU funding and tenders portal. For the standalone project, it's not mandatory, but it's still advised to start as early as possible to start discussing your project with the European Investment Bank. Then, of course, you have to make sure that you submit your proposal through the portal by the cutoff date, making sure that you use the right templates and that you upload all the documents that are part of the application form. Once this is done, and once the cutoff date has expired, the agency will start assessing the proposals against some formal requirements, which are the admissibility and eligibility checks. So it will take about 15 days. And then for the proposals that are considered admissible and eligible, they will be technically evaluated, and it will take around 3 months to do this assessment. And this assessment will be done against some selection, exclusion, award, and prioritization criteria that I will detail shortly. Then, once the proposals will be technically evaluated, then the agency will inform the European Investment Bank of the outcome of the evaluation, and the European Investment Bank will start their own assessment according to their own rules for the loan component. And then as a last stage, once the whole technical assessment is done by the agency, you will be invited for the successful applicants. You will be invited to prepare grant agreement. And then once we have the conclusions of the assessment of the EIB, we will finalize this grant agreement. And on the European Investment Bank side, you will also carry on with the signature of the financing agreement between yourself and the EIB. Then, as I mentioned earlier, this first call for proposals has several cutoff dates. And you can see that for 2023, there will be 3 cutoff dates. So you have time to prepare and to decide when the timing is right for you to submit your proposal. And you have predictability until 2024. And then, of course, we will update as we go along the timetable for the calls for proposals for the future ones. So once the proposal has been submitted, the first checks that will be done will be to see if your proposal is admissible. And in order for a proposal to be admissible, you have to make sure that you submit it before the cutoff date through the EU Funding and Tenders portal. We no longer deal with paper application form, so this is not necessary anymore. And you have to make sure that you submit all the parts that are mentioned belonging to the application. So you have the application form, but very often you have annexes that are also mandatory and that must be uploaded into the system to make your application complete. So it is important that you follow the format, the template, that you respect the limitation of pages or number of characters sometimes that are mentioned, and that you do not try to alter the template that could jeopardize then the access by the agency of your proposal and make it difficult to read or to print. Once the proposal is admissible, the proposal will also be checked for eligibility. And there, as already mentioned this morning, in order to be eligible, applicants must be legal entities established in a member state as a public law body or as a body governed by private law and trusted with a public service mission. What do we actually mean by this? We actually mean private bodies that have been entrusted by a public authority, by legislation or contract, to carry out services of general interest. In other words, these are services that the concerned member state considers as being of general interest and which is therefore subject to a specific public service obligation. Then proposal must also benefit a territory covered by an approved territorial just transition plan, as mentioned this morning, but it doesn't mean that the applicant must be located in this territory. Then project must not generate sufficient streams of revenues to cover the investment cost, and applicants must secure European Investment Bank loan, which will be assessed at the end by the European Investment Bank according to their own rules and procedures. And then project must not receive funding from any other EU program. Of course, it doesn't mean that it cannot complement other projects that are funded under other European funding programs. On the contrary, the complementarity is something that needs to be highlighted in the application form. Then, as part of the assessment, the proposals or the applicant will also be checked to make sure that the applicant has the right financial capacity. What do we mean by this? We mean that we're checking if the applicants have stable and sufficient financial resources to successfully implement the projects and to contribute to their share, because as you know, we are not financing 100% of the investment cost. Therefore, the remaining co-financing that need to be brought in order to fully implement the projects need to be found by the applicants. And therefore, we need to check that the resources are sufficient and stable. We also check the financial capacity check will also be carried out for all beneficiaries, except for public bodies or international organizations, and if the individual requested grant amount is not more than 60,000 euros. And the analysis will be based on neutral financial indicators, but they will also take into account other aspects, such as the dependency on EU funding, deficit, and revenues in previous years. And this will be carried out on the basis of documents that you will be requested to upload in the participants register on the EU funding and tenders portal. Concerning the operational capacity that we will also check, this is to make sure that the applicants have the right expertise, the right know-how, and human resources in order to implement the project as described in the proposal that you will submit. And this will be assessed together with the quality award criterion on the basis of the competence and experience of the applicants and their project teams, including operational resources that you make available for the implementation of the projects. And you can see here from the slides the type of documents that we would expect, like general profiles of CVs of the staff responsible, description of all the consortium participants involved, and some activity reports, and your experience of implementing similar projects in the sector that will be covered by your proposal. Then, of course, if an applicant lacks some operational capacity, as it was explained just before my presentation, the applicant can request advisory support from the InvestEU Advisory Hub. And you can, of course, explain in the application form, in the proposal, what measures you are taking in order to gain that operational capacity before the project actually starts. Then all the proposals submitted will be assessed, as we have just seen, against admissibility and eligibility formal requirements. And then the technical evaluation will start against some award criteria and other prioritization criteria. And as you can see here, this is a recap of the scores that against which the proposals will be marked. So as you can see, there is a maximum score of 20 points for the 2 award criteria, the relevance and impact and quality. And then if prioritization criteria are applied, additional points are given, bringing the overall score of the proposal to a maximum of 30 points. So the first award criterion that will be assessed concerns relevance and impact. It's a maximum of 10 points that can be obtained under this criterion. And here, what we are trying to assess is the extent to which the proposed project matches the themes and the priorities and objectives of the call for proposals. If the contribution to the development needs and priorities described in the relevant territorial just transition plan is indeed justified, and any environmental impact that the project may have, including the do no significant harm principle. You have specific sections in the proposals where you are requested to provide information, and my colleague Eleni will go into more details about this. Then the second criterion that will be checked is the quality criterion. And I would like to emphasize that this is also marked as 10 points, like the first criterion. And it is very important to provide clear and precise information in all the relevant sections of the application. We will, of course, check that the implementation plan that you will describe in the proposal is sound, that the type of activities that you propose are the right type of activities that we would expect for this type of project, and according to the duration of the project that you will propose, and also that the budget that you propose match the activities foreseen. We will also check the state of the state of play of the project, meaning if the project is ready and able to start, as you mentioned in the proposal, and if it can be completed by the end date that is proposed in the application form. And we will also check, in case there are public procurement procedures to be launched, or under which the project has to be implemented, we will check the status of these public procurement procedures to see if it has an impact or not on the maturity of the project, and to see if the start date and end date, as I mentioned, are indeed realistic. So we will check, of course, if you mentioned any subcontracts, any building permits that are requested, environmental permits. All this type of information is very important and should be carefully described, especially when it involves infrastructure projects. Then, once the proposals have gone through the assessment of the two award criteria, of course, it may happen that some proposals obtain the same score, and because all the proposals will be scored and ranked by the number of points they will obtain, we will apply an approach in order to distinguish ex aequo proposals. And this is where the bonus points will come into force, and where we will apply these three additional criteria in order to prioritize the proposals. So the first criterion that will be applied will be for projects located in less developed regions, and there it is to the definition of less developed regions can be found in the Common Provisions Regulations, the Article 108.2, where this is about the GDP per capita, which is less than 75% of the average GDP per capita of the EU 27 less developed regions. Then, if we still obtain, of course, the same score, we will also apply another criterion which concerns projects contributing directly to the achievement of the EU's climate and energy targets and the objective of climate. So it's very important, if your projects apply for this, then that we will that we need to have as much information as possible. And the third criterion is for projects promoted by applicants that have adopted decarbonization plans. Then, of course, if you are successful, you will be invited to prepare a grant agreement with the agency, and the successful applicants will be notified to the European Investment Bank, who will also have up to 18 months to finish their assessments according to their rules and procedures. And once we know the outcome of the European Investment Bank assessment, we will be able also to finalize our grant agreement preparation and to sign the grant agreement, which will set, obviously, the framework and the conditions to implement the project, as well as the reporting obligations and the payments obligations. That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, so we have you have received lots of details, and still more are to come. And I suppose you might be preparing some questions for us. So we will have a break, okay, for that purpose. But of course, we are a bit delayed. We will not be back, of course, at 11:35. We will be back a bit sooner, as I mean, let's say, okay, 11:45, okay, but not later to that, even before, because if we come back to 11:45, that means that we will have 10 minutes delayed, and this will be taken from the questions and answers, or we will end up later. So we will start again at 11:45 scratch, okay? Thank you very much.
Test. 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 Fue lo que me hizo antes el...
So, it's 11:45. We have a bit of a delay, but that's not a problem. We will be flexible at the end. Now, as I said, we are going even more into detail, and we have Eleni Chronopoulou from my team also, that she will be presenting more details on the applications.
Yes, hello everyone. Maybe I can have the presentation back. So I'm Eleni Chronopoulou. I'm also working for CINEA. I'm the call coordinator, evaluation manager for this call. I will go into a more practical presentation presenting the submission process step by step. So I will present how you can find the submission in the Funding and Tenders portal, the submission of a proposal and the parts that you have to complete, the FAQs section, an applicant checklist, and the timetable for this evaluation. So when you go on the home page, you will find the Just Transition mechanism. On the home page, you actually have all the programs that are managed by the eGrants. And so if you're already familiar with the grants, you might have already done this process, including in the previous MFF for Horizon 2020, which was already using it. So under the Just Transition mechanism, you will find some general information that my colleagues have already been through about the 3 pillars. And what is most important is under, on the bottom right, you will find the 2 topics of this call under the View tab. I think Isabelle has already showed you this screenshot. So you have the 2 topics and you have to choose between the standalone projects and the loan schemes. Under one of the 2 topics that you will choose and the submission service, you have some general information again about the topic, all the regulation framework. You can find the work program, the regulations that are governing our calls. And also under the submission service, you have the submission tab. So once you press on that tab, I'm sorry if I'm going maybe too quickly, it's very user-friendly and you can also go through this recording again after this presentation. So you create your proposal. First of all, you need a PIC. You might be already familiar with that. You need to register your organization to the register portal, and you will get a 9-digit code, the participant identification code. And when you fill in your PIC, you also have some information that will be transferred from the participant register, such as the short name and some general information about your organization. You choose an acronym for your proposal. You provide with a very short summary. And then once you save, you will receive a notification that your proposal is created. And what is important is to know that you can save your proposal at all times and go back and go on with your proposal. You don't have to do it on one go, which also allows us to see how many drafts we have inside the system. So once you create your proposal, you can add affiliated entities and partners depending on which topic you are applying for. And you save, and now here is the most important part of the application. It's divided between part A, B, and C. The administrative forms part is the part A. You can see highlighted in yellow the edit forms. Once you press on that tab, you have some general information to provide, some information on the participants to provide, and the budget. Under the general information, you also have to provide with an abstract. You have to choose the duration. In this case, it's 24 to 60 months. And some very general declarations to check. The participants tab, I will not go into it because it's very easy. It's the departments implementing the proposal of your project, some information about additional addresses, contact persons. The budget is very important. Here we are in a lump sum grant. You only have to put the requested grant, not the loan part here. And so you put the percentage of the grant amount that you can also extract from the calculator. The next speaker will go a bit more into details about the calculator. In the calculator, you have both the loan part and the grant part, so make sure that this corresponds. Going back now to the other page, so once you save the table of contents of part A, you can go on with part B. Part B is you download the templates. These are the 3 templates that you can download inside the system. Most important is the application form part B, because there you have all the details about your proposal, the work packages, the timeline. You'll see it's the document that will actually take you time. The calculator and the simplified business plan, my colleague will show you a bit more what they are about. And please don't forget the mandatory documents, part B, calculator, CV. CVs is also under the application form. You will find it in the sections. Simplified business plan, as we said, list of previous projects. It's also in the first template. Decarbonization plan if available, and for non-public entities, don't forget the public mission and the activity reports of last year. Now, in this call, we also have a part C, the KPIs, the key performance indicators, where you can insert the region that will be impacted by your proposal. And the framework, the type of project is the 2 topics, so the second tab. The sectors impacted, the loan provider, the loan amount, the type of environmental impacts, the greenhouse gas emission savings, and you can find this it's near EIB references, the numbers of jobs created, the investments, both public and private, outside the grant and outside the loan, and the number of persons reached. So this is the part C, and once you will complete all parts, you can go on submitting your application. This slide is on some help you can have. and I also think that it will be available in the end. I will go a bit to the FAQs. We have now, we are in the process of publishing the first FAQs that you will find under the topic-related FAQ. This is the first page that I showed on the Funding and Tenders portal. So under the topic FAQs, you should have them, you will find the ones that we are going to publish in the following hours, following day. Plus, we are collecting your questions and we are, of course, replying to them all, but we are selecting also some of them as FAQs to publish on the portal. Applicants checklist, it was already mentioned, the deadlines. Of course, here we have 10 cutoffs, so if you don't make it to the first cutoff, you still have 3 cutoffs in 2023 up to 2025. The last date is September 2025. Proposals must be submitted electronically, plus all the documents, and they have to be complete. We don't accept additional documents by email or paper. So make sure you use the application forms and the templates. Make sure you have completed part A, B, and C. Make sure you're in scope. This is not so difficult because this call has a very broad scope. Proofread your proposal and make sure that all the beneficiaries are registered under the participant in the participant register and receive this 9-digit code that we call the PIC. The timetable, as it was already mentioned, the call was published in July, on the 19th of July. The deadline, the first deadline for submission is the 19th of October. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so sometimes applicants miss this deadline and think it's midnight, but it's 5 o'clock. Our first evaluation is going to run from October to January 2023. The applicants will be notified if they can be considered eligible for a grant, but of course the IB is also assessing, and this will happen by April 2024. This is the maximum date of 15 additional months. It might be, and if you're already applying to the EIB very quickly, it might be that this assessment is completed before. And the signature of the first grant agreements will be done by June 2024, so the same applies. If we receive the IB assessment before and you have already notified in January 23 that you are eligible for a grant, then it can all go faster and we can already have some grant agreements, hopefully very soon. That's all from me. Thank you very much.
Many thanks to Eleni for that very good presentation. We go still in the details on the Simplified Business Plan Calculator by Gauthier Clar from the Financial Engineering team in CINEA.
So I guess I just need to click on the next slide. Yes, thank you, Cristóbal. Good morning to everyone. My name is Gauthier Clar. I'm a senior financial engineering manager at CINEA. And with the couple of slides that I'm going to show you now, I would like to take you through 2 critical pieces of information in the application, and that are the Simplified Business Plan and the calculator. I'm not going to go through in the nitty-gritties of these 2 documents, Words and Excel, but just want to convey to you, let's say, high-level information for helping you to fill these 2 documents. That's it. Okay. Thank you. So 2 documents. The first one is a Simplified Business Plan, and the other one is the financial information file, or the calculator, which is an Excel document. So what for? Well, there are 2 objectives with these 2 documents that work together. The first is to confirm the eligibility condition with regard to the insufficiency of revenues. And for this, I refer you to the, let's say, regulation and to the work program. The second objective is, of course, to assess the award criteria, and namely the significance of the grant. And also, these two documents will feed into the, say, review of the quality, including the readiness of projects. So they work together, and the approach that we have taken for when designing this document is a one-size-fits-all approach, meaning that you should use these templates, Simplified Business Plan and the calculator, the Excel. They were designed to, let's say, work for all sectors, whether for a standalone project or a project covered by framework law. So, let's say, in some cases, you will find for projects that are standalone or mature, you will find maybe these documents a bit simplistic, but for other projects that are less advanced, of course, you may find them over-engineered. That's recognized, and but reassured that as long as you do to the best of your ability, that will be fine. So now, with next slide, I would like to take you through to this first set of information, that is the financial information file or the calculator. So it's an Excel document, so I will go tab by tab. So there are several tabs, and the first one, quite important, is the notice. So in the notice, you will find information how to fill the next tab. You also find some conceptual option that we have retained. So regarding the analysis of cash flow, so it's a financial plan, but the approach that we have taken is more from an economic standpoint. So for those familiar with CBA, as per the DG REGIO guidance, you will find similarities with the financial analysis of the CBA, i.e. use constant values, i.e. an incremental approach. So be aware that cost savings are revenues, and avoided capex should come as a minus. The second tab is a budget table calculator. It's only there to calculate the grant amount. So again, as mentioned in the previous presentation, ensure consistency with the rest of the application. And of course, make sure that the use of fund tallies with the source of funds. And then you have several input sheets. We have provided up to 10. We believe it will be sufficient. The important thing to keep in mind here is that please group, when necessary, of course, when there are several projects, then you should group them by sectors, objective, or business model. It's quite important. Don't mix apple with oranges, otherwise the old model will deliver weird results and obviously not quite useful. So be consistent, group project by sectors, objective, or mostly business model. And in these input sheets, I'm not going to tell you to go through each, or because they're similar, all of these input sheets, but basically there are 3 sections where you are required to fill in information about the investment cost, the operating expenses, and the revenues. Then you have a tab that is important, which is the financial analysis. By the way, it's a tab that is produced by the model, so it will take your input from the input tabs, from the input sheet, and express key information. The purpose of this financial analysis is to calculate the financial net present value, and which we see as a proxy to verify the insufficiency of revenues. This is very important because, safe in case of clerical mistakes, a positive NPV will be regarded as prima facie evidence of sufficiency of revenues, i.e. that the project submitted does not meet the eligibility condition. So be aware of that. Also be aware that the calculation is done on a consolidated basis, so there is only one financial analysis tab consolidating all the inputs of all the input tabs into one NPV. However, of course, in case of very different project or input in each input tab, then of course the evaluator may review the FNPV on a discrete basis, i.e. Based on data included in one specific input tab. And then, of course, you have a free tab where you can add, copy, paste your information, your model that you may use to feed in the other tabs. So that's for the calculator. The second document that goes with it is the Simplified business plan. So the purpose, they go together, so the purpose is to complement the calculator, to add values and credibility, because the calculator is only, raw data, raw figures, and we would like to have more nuance about your project. And the other purpose is obviously to ensure consistency across your application and most notably between these two documents. So forward, again, consolidated approach. If the project or set of products submitted are not homogeneous, you need to duplicate the table following, for example, the order of the input tab that you've used in the calculator. The other important, let's say, forward, is that we recognize that applicants may not be capable of addressing all boxes. So in that case, don't invent, just put not applicable, but in such a case, provide explanation. And it's very important that you provide explanation, because otherwise, and subject to circumstances, for example, maturity, then this information could not be positively fit into the evaluation on quality. So the more explanation you give about why the information is not available is a bonus, basically, and ensure consistency and gives credibility to the application. Now, in the simplified business plan, you have 6 sections. Again, I will scroll through this section, high level. First, you have a demand analysis. Basically, what we would like to, what we need the evaluators to understand, it was what is the demand, and basically what is the business model. What needs are you serving with this project? What are the users? Are they competition? What's your position of supply versus demand? So that's first section. Second section, actually 3 sections. You have a section on investment costs, operating expenses, and revenues. And here what we expect is that applicants provide details mostly about the evaluation methods. How did you come to these figures? How did you come to this, let's say, estimates of the investment cost? So, and if you have not, I mean, it's okay to say that you will anticipate using this method, just again to give more credibility to your analysis. Another section is a sensitivity analysis. Then I would say that it's more nice to have, because we recognize that it might be complicated depending on the maturity of project to provide this sensitivity analysis. But some project we hope will have already this kind of sensitivity analysis. And the last section is quite important too, because it's about the significance of the grant component. So here what we expect to find is a description of the financial constraint that hamper, in the absence of the grant, the project to access or access to third-party financing. So here we would like the applicants to be specific and document the position. So it's really why you need the PSLF grant. And also here we'd like to explain the way the organization typically finance other projects, and if access to debt funding for the project submitted requires additional support in the form of your guarantee. So here the idea is really to understand, is it something specific about this project compared to the normal pattern that your organization use for its funding, and why the PSLF grant is necessary. So that concludes my presentation. I would just add a few, let's say, advice. And my advice is please involve a financial officer of your organization to review your input into these two documents and make sure that they buy in what you say. So it's really important that this information are provided by financial officers of your organization. With this, good luck with your application, and I pass the floor to Cristóbal again. Thank you.
Many thanks, Gauthier. So the time has arrived to deal with the questions and answers. I would like to explain the following. Of course, out of 280 registered participants, we expected many questions. We have them in Slido. The first thing I wanted to say is that all the questions will be published in the frequently asked section of the portal. Of the Slido questions that we have received, some of them will be, the easy ones will be answered online, okay, and will be seen in the event website. And we will tackle the rest. We will try to tackle the rest online. If anything is not tackled online, they will appear in the frequently asked question, okay? So you don't have to worry. Your question will be answered in any case, okay? It's a matter of timing. So I ask, please, if we can go through the slide of questions. We have selected a number of questions. The first one is, of course, for DG REGIO, and I wonder if you are going to cover several questions in a row. I was anticipating it. So I will let Clément, also from DG REGIO, to manage the questions addressed that you are going to answer, no, from your side. Thank you.
Thank you, Cristóbal, and good morning, everyone. My name is Clément Gauthier, and I work in DG REGIO, and I will tackle a few questions on the territorial just transition plans. Just in terms of process, the plans are annexes to the program that are in the process of being adopted by the Commission. And you can track the adoption of the plans on the just transition platform. Currently, the regions with no plans adopted are in blue, and once a plan has been adopted, the regions becomes green, and you can also find a link to the relevant website where you can actually find the plan. When you prepare your application form, you will need to check in the plan if your project complies with the sectors listed therein. You will need to demonstrate that your project is indeed addressing the needs of the territories as they are set out in the plan. So it's on the applicant to make this demonstration, which is then assessed by CINEA. And in terms of content of the sectors in the plans, this is prepared by the managing authorities or the regions preparing the plans. So you can also get in touch with them if the plans are still being discussed. And you can find some list. In some of the plans, the list will be open, so you will have a lot of possibilities to demonstrate that your project is indeed addressing the needs of the territory. I will also tackle another question on the do no significant harm principle. Yeah, so that one I think I replied. When it becomes from blue to green on the map, on the just transition platform. And then there was also a question on the do no significant harm principle, how it will be assessed. As you will see in the public sector loan facility regulation, there are some horizontal principles that the application must comply with. And one of them is the do no significant harm principles. So this will be an eligibility criteria in your application. You will have to declare that you will indeed comply with these principles, along with other principles, including gender mainstreaming and the absence of discrimination. And please note that this will also be checked by the European Investment Bank as part of their own due diligence. And I will now give the floor to Sabine on the question about the added value of the grant.
Yes, thank you, Clément. Yeah, there were several questions on the added value of the grant. So I would first like to go through the figures again, because I think there has been some confusion. The grant is actually 15 or 25% of the loan. So it's not 5 or 6%, 5 or 6%. This is the total the value of the grant compared to the total cost of the project. But compared to the loan, the grant will represent 15 or 20% of the loan, and it is a top-up. So if you get a loan of 50% of your project cost, on top of that, you will get a grant of 15% or 20% of the amount of the loan. So, and what is the added value of the loan? Well, there was also a question on how projects can be bankable. So this is well, at the core of the facility, actually. We have the grant there to close the funding gap and to make the project bankable. So this is the purpose of the facility, so to have the combination of the grant to make it bankable and so to allow you to get a loan actually from the bank. There was a question also on the role of the managing authorities in this facility. So the role of the managing authorities is actually limited for the public sector loan facility. What does the managing authority do? They negotiate actually the GTF programs with the Commission, and they also negotiate the just transition plans with the Commission. But for applying to the public sector loan facility, it's under direct management. So it means that any public entities, the municipality, a region, whatever, can apply for a grant and a loan under the facility, and this does not have to go, or this doesn't need to be coordinated through the managing authority. If you apply, you just have to make sure that your proposal is in line with the territorial just transition plans. There was also a question if you can apply for a project, a direct project, an individual project, and a loan scheme. Yes, this is possible. You can apply for both. So there is no limitation. So you can have one proposal for a specific project and a loan scheme. This is not a problem. So I pass the floor now maybe to Maria for the EIB questions.
Thanks, Sabine. So some of the questions have already been answered in Slido, and others will be published as part of the Q&A. I will just take some questions that are related to intermediated financing together. So indeed, there was a question whether the loan is from the EIB or the intermediate financing. So the intermediary, the financial intermediary, so it can be both. Indeed, that's what we allowed through the PSLF program. And then there were questions on the process and approval process. So indeed, the financial intermediary signs the agreement with the EIB prior to be able to on lend to the project promoters, and project promoters actually need to contact the financial intermediary directly and get financing, secure financing, and secure a letter of signed financing before they can apply for the grant. There was a question also whether actual current MBILs, so multi-beneficiary intermediated loans, can be mobilized for the PSLF, and the answer is yes. So indeed, we will have new contracts, we will have new discussions with intermediaries, so they're active in PSLF and in the geographical areas or member states and regions that are interesting for PSLF. But also we can amend current contracts with current intermediaries so that to activate them for PSLF. And this will be published. We will publish a list of financial intermediaries that the actual project promoters can contact directly. So I think this answers most of the questions. For national promotional banks, they can act as intermediaries, but they can also be act as coordinators for the coordinated framework loans and apply for the grant on behalf of other sub-project promoters. So that's the replies for this set of questions. And as we were saying, there would be more answers in the Q&A that will be published later on. Thank you.
Thank you to the colleagues that have answered the questions. I have still Slido here, so we may be disconnected already, or are we finished? Okay. So as said at the beginning, all the questions will be answered. Okay, if they haven't been answered orally, they will be answered through Slido or in the frequently asked questions. The session is recorded anyway, so you can come back to it. And well, we are reaching the end of this session, of this info day. We cannot enlarge it more because human capacity is limited to absorb information. I know that there is a lot of content that has been explained to you. So we are going to close it very soon. I just want to make reference to the upcoming events. In 1 week time, we will have the European Sustainable Energy Week, where this presentation will be run again, and you will have also the opportunity to ask questions in Slido. We will have the European Week of the Regions also, and cities. And then, of course, we have another event related also to the sort of possible projects. This is Ecomondo, but of course this will be already after the first cut-off date. So if we concentrate now in this first cut-off date, I suggest that after reflections and after rereading maybe or going through the presentations again, you can again join us in 1 week time, and you could ask any clarifications and we can address them. Otherwise, I hope that this event was very useful. We have devoted all the possible efforts despite the IT limitations that nowadays I know that in many events are unavoidable. Despite the limitations, I think that it was, from my point of view, a successful event, but is it up to you to say that and up to give us feedback? The recordings of the two high-level Commission representatives will be posted in the website, so you can listen to it. I advise that you listen to it because it provides the very high-level picture of the program, and that's it. I think I am going to close the meeting because there are no more Slido questions, or they will be answered. and there is no more content. I hope that, like for me, you think that this was a very useful meeting. And of course, we hope to see this reflected in the number of applications. Just to be informed that we see how many drafts are, so we have a feeling of how many potential applicants are working with the applications. And we would be encouraged to see that from the 5, those covering the 5, covered by the 5 just transition plans, we see applications coming. Anyway, you know that there are many cut-off dates, but of course we would like to see already many in the first cut-off date. That would be a sign of success and a sign that our efforts are leading somewhere. So I wish you all the best with your applications, and a very good rest of the day. Thank you very much for listening, and all the best from the whole team. Thank you.